All right, the concept is pretty simple, but it's not so simple. I'm going to try to make a box on the old Infinity over there. That is, I'm going to use a 90-degree V-bit to make the miters on the inside of the box. I'm going to use a 1/4-inch end mill to cut it loose, and I'm going to use a 1/4-inch end mill to create the channel for the bottom of the box to go into. And then I'm going to, on the front side, if this works out the way it's supposed to, I'm going to create a relief carving that wraps around the box. So stick with me. Let's see if I can pull this off, and let's get started. All right, so before we start using this guy to try and make a high-end box, we're going to use some MDF and do that first. The reason for that is because I've ruined too many pieces of good lumber practicing and then realizing, oops. So I've learned plenty of hard lessons. Before using the mill, practice what you're trying to do on some piece of junk. And here's a little tip for you. Whenever I do a complex carving like this, I have these 5x6, 3x6, whatever by 6 cards they are, and I write down all of the pertinent information when I come out to the shop, because I program in the house and then I come out here and forget what I'm supposed to do. So the stock size on this is 9x33. It's a 3/4 inch. I have 3/4 inch clamping room on each side of the stock. The origin is in the center. The first bit is the relief bit. We're going to do the relief carving first. Then we're going to flip it over and go to side 2. Then we're going to use the 90-degree V bit. And we're going to go to bit number 2, which is a 1/4 inch end mill. So I'll go through these and do that real quick on the practice piece, and we'll see if this even actually works. I'm very glad I removed that screw from right there and put it along the edge. That would have been a bad day. Trying to look as much like a senior citizen as I can. I'm hoping I'm pulling this off. Okay, so I ran out of time out here yesterday and I went back in the house. It's the next day. I actually worked all day long today and now it's the next day. I didn't move the machine. I didn't touch the machine. All I did was repower it over there. When you get your startup screen on the Infinity, it will say OK or confirm. You just hit confirm, don't hit OK, because then it'll re-zero. This way I haven't lost the zero at all. So what I'm going to do is simply raise this up just a little bit so I can get that block out of there. Like that. Then I'm just going to send it to the back so that I can get it out of my way. Like that. Then I'm going to take this all out and I'm going to flip it, let's call it horizontally, the short way rather than the long way. So if I take it out of these guys, like so, and I get my drill, take these out. Now you're wondering about the zero for flipping this and getting it in the right spot. So I'm against here and I'm against, can you see? I'm against that PVC and I've got this little block in here to give me the depth. So even if I do this, when I do this now, and I put it back, I'll just put it in, slide it against that stop like that, and we'll rock and roll. Let me fasten it back down. We'll get it started up and we'll see if the theory of this, we'll see if this theory works about, can I make a box with a pattern that goes all the way around and cut the back side with a 90-degree V-bit and then bring all the pieces together and have that thing go all the way around. Let me get this cut out and we'll figure it out. Okay, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty excited about this. Look at that. It's almost perfect. If I had a more symmetrical design, by Jove, I think I've got it. I think I could make that work. As you can see, it's trying to follow. Obviously, this is the best side. But I think if I had a more symmetrical design, I would call that a win. So I could continue with this, and I haven't sanded anything, on a hard piece of wood and end up with an extremely pretty box. All right, so what did I learn from the practice on this guy right here? A couple of things. I'm hoping I remember to tell you everything that I learned. So when you cut the pieces, oops, almost knocked my box apart. When you cut the pieces on the back side to do the miter, you have to extend the boxes further than the width of your stock. I'm going to go over all of that when I do the programming in there, but what that did was stretched out the boxes, stretched out the grooves, and then when I did the profile cut, it cut every piece loose, and I had to actually hold the pieces to get them so that they didn't fly out of the machine. So number one, I think what we need to do is put a rail down the outside of the relief so that when I flip the piece over, I can then take CA glue and blue tape trick and hold all the pieces down, or not cut them out with the end mill, cut it out on the table saw. Put your V grooves in to create your miters, and then take it to the table saw and slice them off. Now, if you don't have a table saw, use a band saw. You know, you must be cutting things linearly, longly, the long way. So however you're doing that, you could actually cut these pieces loose, and it would be a more controlled thing. As you saw in there a minute ago, I labeled them 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's a definite. I've also learned that I don't think I want the rabbet cut in the bottom for putting in the bottom. I think I'm just gonna, put the bottom on the top and the top on the top, splayed out to create a base. I think that would work better. You certainly could put the groove in the bottom. It doesn't hurt anything. You got to do some math and figure out that you can't go too deep. If you go too deep, you're going to go right into your relief. So that's the danger of putting the groove in the bottom. So I've got the machine all loaded up. Let me see if I can move this camera without too much shaking here. All right, as you can see, I've got the machine loaded up. Let me move this guy. I've also learned when you're practicing, let's do some smaller pieces. So this guy is 5 inches wide. It's actually 19 inches wide, 5 inches tall. Origin in the center. First cut is going to be to do the relief. Now, the other thing I told you in there, if the relief was more symmetrical. This one is much more symmetrical. It's two eagles facing like this. So you want to put the center line of the relief items, let's call it, eagle, eagle, eagle. You're going to have 4 of them. You want that center line of that eagle to fall directly in the center of that cut when the V-bit comes down to the bottom of the slice. That center has to match the center of your 2 eagles. It doesn't have to be eagles, it could be anything you want. But as I said, I think a more symmetrical relief is going to work better. You don't need to see the machine running and all that stuff. Let me get it going. Let me get it cut out, and then we'll see if I've had any more better success. So let's get to it. All right, you can see I took the clamps off. If I want to make a point here, when you flip this thing, don't flip it this way. My main concern is that I maintain the distance here, there, and there. So we got to flip this thing like that and use our spacer to get it back in the same spot. Now we can lock it back down and continue. So what I'm showing you here is we've got them almost all cut out, but I realized I had to add more hold downs, more support. So if you're going to do this, I recommend calculating where the V-bit's going to come through and then hold down each section. Even though I added that little layer on there, it still cut them loose. Those of you that are looking for a way to remove the fuzzies, a strong wire brush on your relief carvings, if you're using hardwood, does the trick. How about that now? With a little clamping pressure, I can draw that together. Now there's one that's bad, but that's what you saw me put down all the extra support for. But I'm calling that a win. I think that's the bad one right there. But little glue, little sanding. That is awesome. All right, I'm going to call that one a win. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. Stay tuned for the programming if you're interested in learning how I did this with the Carveco software. And you can do it with any software, but I use Carveco. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right, let's begin by creating a new model. And I'm going to go 40 inches by 40 inches. I'm just giving myself a workspace. We don't need to worry about it, how big it is, because obviously we're not making a box that's 40 inches by 40 inches. Origin in the bottom left corner. We're going to click OK. All right, so here's our workspace. Again, origins in the bottom. Let's open up the 2D view. Now, in order to do this, you need to know what diameter the V-bit you're using is. It has to be a 90-degree V-bit. If you're a mathematician, you can do the math to calculate the box or the rectangle that's needed to create the 90-degree miter on the back side of this box. So this is a one-board project. And what I did, because I didn't want to do the math, was I went to ChatGPT and I entered a prompt. Now I'm going to read that prompt to you so that you can slow the video down, stop it, pause, whatever, so that you can use the prompt. All right, so here's the prompt. I want to create a groove with a, this is where you fill in whatever your size diameter V-bit is. So I'll start again. I want to create a groove with a half-inch diameter 90-degree V-bit. I want a continuous slope from the top to the bottom of a 1/2 inch thick board. How wide does the rectangled box I create in Carveco need to be for the vectors? Don't do the math, just give me the answer. Enter that prompt and it will tell you. Now, I have for a 1/2 inch diameter V-bit, I can tell you that on 1/2 inch thick stock, you need a 1 inch wide box. For 3/4 inch, you need a 1.5 inch box. For 1 inch, you need a 2 inch wide box. So let's go back to the screen here now. And let's say we're going to make a box that is 4 inches high by 4 inches square all the way around. The first thing you're going to do is go to the square tool, and we're going to create a rectangle. Drag it out, let it go. Over here to the side, we said we wanted a box that was 4 inches tall. So we can go down here to this and go 4 inches. We want a box that is 4 by 4 by 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. So we need a 16-inch long piece. I'm going to click Create. And then we're going to go over here and click the cursor tool so that we can click off of this thing. Let's put it in the middle by hitting F9. Okay, so there's our board, basically. Now, as we move along here, I'm going to pull this down to the corner so that our origin and the corner of our stock match and make sense. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Okay, I said we needed a rectangle. So what do I mean by that? So you need to create a rectangle on the end of the board that is 1 inch wide. As I said, 1/2 inch stock with a 1/2 inch diameter V-bit. Let's go 6 inches high. Let's click Create. The rectangular box needs to extend beyond your stock size, beyond what your box dimensions are. Because when the V-bit comes to the end over here, if it doesn't pass the edge of your stock, it's going to create a V-wedge in the bottom, and you can't have that. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. Okay, back to the cursor tool. Now what we need to do is click on this rectangle. We want it kind of centered, between the top and the bottom of the box. And by that I mean we don't want it up like this or down in here like that. What we do want is we want the center of this box directly over the edge of that board. So if we click on this, get it highlighted, we can then zoom up and down here like this, and it will show us the center. When you get that point, like that, left click, hold it down, bring it up to it so that it's even top and bottom, and then slide it over. Once you see that symbol, you're now on the center of the edge of that board. Your rectangle is centered over the edge of that board, right? I must have moved because I lost it. Let me go there one more time. Finding center, sliding, releasing. Clicking off of that just to prove it. Okay, so now we know that it is in the center. The reason for that is you need 1/2 of a miter right here. So you need 1/2 of your 45. It's going to trim all this section off to make 1/2 of the miter. Now we need to spread these out going across. We'll need 5 of these rectangles to create 4 box sides. Highlight this. Go to your block and copy tool here on the top. Left click. Come over to the side. We're going to block and copy. These distances are offsets. We're going to offset 4 inches. So this box will be 4 inches to the next one, to the next one, and so on to give us our sides. We need 5 of them, and we need 1 row. So if I move this over so you can see what's happening here, let me move it over. We're going to activate this one more time, and I'm going to click Apply. Now, as you can see, I now have the 4 rectangles equally spaced with the 2 end rectangles half off of the board, meaning you're going to get 1/2 of your miter corner here and 1/2 of this miter corner here, and when you fold these pieces together, it will create an entire box. Let me slide this back over. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in some guidelines. So over here on the left side, drag it in until you get it on the center of that. Now we're going to grab another one and drag it in, and I want to be right in the center of that rectangle. So again, when we get this symbol, we let go. Dragging it in, we're going to continue this all the way across every box. Oops, right there. And again, with this one, we're looking for center right there. Now I need a cross line, so we're going to go from the top down, drag it. We'll go in here until we hit center again on one of these boxes. You could do it over here, or you could do it over here. It doesn't matter, and we're going to release. So that is the basis for any box that you want to cut on your mill. You can do this and cut out any box. Now, because we're going to add the relief in, or the reliefs, we need these rectangles in here to get up and get out of the way. We don't want to lose the spacing. So if we go across like this and group them, we can then take them, push Alt on the keyboard. Alt will keep them in line. In other words, you can't go on a diagonal like this, right? So Alt will keep them in line. We can go then straight up off of the box, out of the way. Deactivating them and coming back into the center here. Now, that is our miters for the back side. How do we put our relief on the front side? Let's go to the 3D view. And as you can see, because I put the crosshairs in, they're still here. This is going to help you when we do the relief. Now, the relief, as I said out in the shop, I think I said, it should be a relief that you can split down the center. So let's go to our library. And I'm going to go down here to a butterfly because that's a pretty straightforward split right down the center. And we're going to use this one here. By split in the middle, I mean, if you took this donkey and you put it over the center line and you cut it, it would look foolish having a dividing line cut down through the center. But on this, it won't. So we come over, and again, we want to find center of the crosshair of the guidelines. You can see that when I bring this in, I get the crosshair right there. Do not paste this down. We're going to do some things here before we paste this. First, we've got to reduce the size of this thing equally so that it'll fit in the space between the guidelines and the size of the stock. So what I do is I come over here to this side and I push down on the down arrows. Okay, we know the box is 4 inches tall. So until I get below 4 inches minimum, I can't make it fit. So right now we're at 3.5 inches wide by 3.3 tall. Let's hit apply and see what that looks like. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. So if we zoom in, you can see that from the bottom of your board, or the bottom of your box now, the bottom of the butterfly is not overhanging, and it's not too far to the left or to the right. Now, let's close this out. We don't need the relief library anymore. I'm going to do something here, pardon me, that you may not know you can do. Let's slide this over. Let's open up the block and copy tool one more time. Using the same numbers we used before, we're going to hit apply once more, and it's going to pop all those butterflies in right where we need them. So we can close this out now. I should have sized this before I closed that out. So I only want these butterflies to be 0.25, or 0.2 is probably enough. We'll click apply, and it adjusts them all. Now we can paste. So now you have all of your butterflies. This butterfly's wing is going to get cut off here. This one is going to get cut off here. Again, when you fold these together, it's going to put the halves that you've severed back together to create 4 of them all the way around the box. So there's your relief. Now what I would do to do toolpaths for the relief, I would click on the box. I would go to your relief carving toolpath. I would click on selected vectors because I only want it to do inside. You're going to select a finishing tool, and in my case, I did not use a roughing tool. I simply used the 1/8 inch tapered ball nose. We're going to select. Scrolling down, I'm going to change the safe Z right here. I'm going to click on that. Scrolling down, we're going to change it right here to 0.1. Continuing down, we're going to define the material as a 1/2 inch, and then we'll give it a name. Let's see, I don't want to call it that. B-U-T-T-E-R is close enough for me. So now let's calculate. The green bar goes across, and as you can see, we now get a relief within inside that box. That's all we want for that. Now, if we zoom in, this is the front side. So if I show you the toolpath over here, we have the front side relief. We know the origin is in the bottom left corner. All right. Let's bring these squares, rectangles, back down. So we'll light them back up, pushing Alt once more. Actually, you could hit F9 and that would also bring them down. Now the rectangles will be the back side of the carve, obviously. Let's turn off the carving. So as you can see, I keep wanting to say alligators. Butterflies are in the center of your relief, so that's going to work for you. Your board box size is right there. This one here, I'll highlight it. That is your board size, stock size. And these are your miters. So what I would suggest in this case is to create another box much larger than your project size. Let's go with a width that is 20 inches wide. We know these are 6 inches high, so let's go 8 inches high. Click Create, go to the cursor tool, push F9, and this now becomes your stock size. This is your project, your box. This is the stock. Reason for that, like I said, we want it so that your V-bit creates a miter all the way across, not leaving a V-shaped wedge here on the end, but yet we don't want it to cut the pieces loose like it has done to me twice now because I've not made a bigger piece. All right, so before we continue, let's do one thing here. Let's click on this. And I'm going to delete the toolpaths on that relief because I believe when I move this over, it's going to mess up the relief. So we've clicked on that. Let's go to model, going down here to crop. This is where I'm going to remove all this excess. Crop, that's gone. Going to model, set position. We're going to go to bottom left pixel, which is right here, and we're going to click OK. So now the origin will be here. If I would have done that correctly, let's try that one more time. I have to put bottom left and I need 0 here and 0 here and 0 here. Now click OK and it moves the origin to where I need it. These lines are not important anymore. We can delete those. Go to View, delete all guidelines. So that's what we have now. We have a stock size that is 8 inches by 20 inches. You're going to have a box that is 4 inches square being cut out of a singular board that is 4 inches high, 16 inches wide. We have reliefs on the front side that are easily divisible by 2 down the center. And we have the rectangles that will be on the second side for the V carving. So let's begin again. We're going to click on just the rectangle to create the relief carving toolpath. And you're going to get this warning, ignore it. Parts lie outside. Would you like to adjust? No, I don't want to adjust anything. We're going to do selected vectors once more. We're going to click and select the 1/8 inch ball nose. Going down through, everything is the same. We don't need to adjust that. Let's call this the butt again. Calculate. There's our relief. That's our relief toolpath. If this is confusing to you, you can shut off these light bulbs. Deactivate this box now and activate just these rectangles. This case we'll go to a V carving toolpath. Start depth is 0. Do not limit the tool depth. Select the V-bit that you chose in the beginning, and in my case, it is this guy right here, small V-bit, 1/2 inch diameter. Select that. No roughing tool. It's not necessary. If you put a roughing tool in there, it's going to flatten things. We don't want to do that. Safe Z, again, should be 0.1. Material thickness has already been determined. Let's click on this and write V miter on the back side. Calculate. There is our miter. We know our origin is here. Closing this out. You can't really simulate this and get a good idea, but you can simulate them individually. So let me simulate the miter first. And as you can see now, if these rectangles were too close, you would see that V shape right there in your board, and you don't want it. You want the V bit to pass clean off of your board size. If I bring back the vectors, you can see what I'm saying. So see, that V right there is beyond the edge of your board. So we're good there. Let's delete this simulation. And let's simulate the relief. And there we are. So now we have butterflies that are correct. Bring back the vectors. Let's do it this way. Let's shut off the vectors. Let's turn on all of it. Now, as you can see with that, let's go to center here. There's your box board size, and there's your V-carves going beyond it. We're in good shape. All right, so toolpaths. Saving the toolpaths, I should say. Let's delete the simulation. Bring back the vectors. Slide this over out of the way here. Clicking on toolpaths. We're going to save the toolpaths. So you have two sides. So you have the butterfly side and the V-bit miter side. You'll do the butterflies first. So you'll click on this, click this arrow, bring this over to the deactivate side, and then you'll create a name and you'll save it to whatever thumb drive you're using. Once you've saved that, click on this one, bring it over to this side, click on that one, click here, bring it back, give it a different name describing what that process is, save that, and you're good to go. Then you can go out to the shop that is your shop and continue. So I hope that helped you in some way. I hope you learned something from this. If you got any questions about how I did this, you can leave them in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for the continued support. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you on the next one.